Okay, so in this next step, we're going to create our dependency injection container and then look at how we can use it in our code. So let's jump back to the resource pack directory. And first, we need to include our dependency injector container component in with our libraries. So we'll open up step 71 and copy this code and paste it over the code that's currently in the composer.json file and save it. And this just adds the dependency injection line here. Jump to your command line, and what we're going to do is run composer update to download this package. Okay, looks like it installed the dependency injection component, and we should be good to move to the next step. So let's go back to the resource pack directory, and we're going to copy step 72 container.php, adding dependency injection container. So we'll copy this, jump over to our examples folder, paste it in, and we're going to rename this container.php. Let's go back to the resource pack, and the next step tells you where to put this container. So step 73, let's open it up, and it says to move container to source. Let's go ahead and do that. And jump back to our examples, and we'll drag container over to source. Let's open it up and take a look. So what we're going to do is create a new instance of our container by using container builder inside of our dependency injection component. This gives us a scaffolding for our dependency injector container. In this next line, we're using the register method in order to register a particular dependency. We're calling it a dependency here, even though we don't know exactly, at least in the context of this file, what's going to depend on it. There could be several different classes that depend on this particular type of object. The component in this case is an instance of request context, which is in our routing component. And this first parameter here is just the name that we're giving this. So much like we would assign a variable to this instance, we're assigning a name as a reference to this class. So as you can see, nothing's being instantiated here. We're not creating a new object. We're just saying what the object will be an instance of once it gets created. And before we go through the rest of this, let's look at how it gets grabbed out of this. So let's go to our resource pack directory and open up step 74, adding dependency injections. This is for our front.php file. Let's copy this and paste it over our front.php file and save it. So what we've added here is sc, which is our source container, and we're including our container.php. The way we can assign the included content to a variable is by, at the end of container.php, doing a return here. So this allows us to assign this sc to whatever variable we want. So we don't necessarily have to call it sc in our front.php file, but it's a standard name, so it works well here. And now to get an item from our container, we use the get method. This is our container here, sc. We're using get, and then we're passing it a name. And this name corresponds to one of the dependencies that we just registered inside of our container. If we kept looking down our container, eventually we would see a registration of framework here. And this is being assigned to the simplex/framework, which is the fully qualified name of our framework class. So it happens in front.php when we do get framework. At this point, no framework object has been instantiated yet, but once the container sees that there's a request for it, it will go and create a new object from the simplex framework class, and it will return that to that get statement. Now, if there's multiple requests for the framework object, like in our front.php file, if we just copied this code and pasted it and we did 2 gets to the framework object, the first time, the object would be instantiated, but it would be stored, and then the next time it was requested, it would grab that same instance. This is an example of the singleton pattern. The idea is that we always want to get the same instance of an object, and our dependency injection container takes care of that. We don't have to deal with that at the level of the classes that we create. The dependency injection container wraps that functionality into it. We can override this to get a fresh instance if we want to, but in most cases, you're not going to want to add to memory usage by creating additional instances of a class. And a lot of the times, the parameters that get set within an instance are useful later on. It's a way to persist information between multiple uses of a particular class. If we always have one instance, we can always rely on any changes within that instance carrying over to any other uses of it. I'm going to go ahead and delete that second line. We don't need it. And let's jump back to our container.